The year is 2022, Hamilton, Ohio. 50-year-old Rachelle Brewsaugh had recently moved into a new home which needed quite a lot of renovations. She was doing a lot of the work herself, and at the time, according to her longtime boyfriend, 50-year-old Toby Madden, he was practically living there with her to assist with this renovation work. Toby and Rachelle had a tumultuous 28-year-long relationship. It's described as on and off again, very rocky, and reports by their daughter, Michaela, indicate that throughout her childhood, Toby was a chaotic character in her life. She says that her parents' relationship was riddled with domestic violence, many meltdowns on Toby's part, and that there was always trouble when he was around, especially involving drugs and alcohol. She speaks fondly of her mother though, stating that the woman was a hard worker, employed as a nurse at an elderly care facility, and any and all decent family values she picked up throughout her life were taught to her by her mother. Michaela describes her father, on the other hand, as a stray cat, one that persistently followed her mother around even when he wasn't wanted, a person that her mother couldn't quite shake. At the time when Rachelle was renovating, Michaela actually disputes this idea that Toby was helping out. She says he was doing nothing more than freeloading. To support this idea that Toby was at times violent and a drug user, there's 2 police records associated with his name. The first occurred in 1988, where he was sentenced 3 to 15 years for aggravated assault. The second instance was much closer to the 2022 date, and I have found far more details associated with this one. On September 23rd, 2021, Toby entered the public lobby for a county jail. With him were 2 large roll-on suitcases. Toby tells the employees there that he has information regarding the location of a substantial amount of drugs and details about high players in a drug trafficking ring. He wants to talk with detectives to provide them this information. 2 detectives arrive shortly after and sit down with Toby for an interview. Throughout it, the detectives note that the man spoke 100 miles an hour. He was rambling, and it was incredibly difficult to get him to stay on a specific topic. They ask him about these drug traffickers, or the supposed location of drugs, and Toby always responds with, "I can't tell you about that right now." He claims that he can't answer because his life is in danger. He's paranoid and believes that he's being followed. Whilst this interview takes place, Toby continuously looks down at his luggage and at times grabs at the handles. The detectives ask about his suitcases, and Toby agrees to let them search one. When they open it up, they uncover a lot of clothing, much of it clearly not belonging to Toby. He explains to them that he sells these clothes on eBay to make money. Amongst this selection of apparel, they also find a heat-sealed bag that has been opened. Within it, around 300 grams of methamphetamine. The detectives make a decision not to arrest him. They say they want to work with Toby to obtain the intel he claims to have, but in his current state, they don't believe that this will be possible, so the drugs are confiscated, and Toby is driven to a location of his choosing, a nearby hotel. Once dropped off, the detectives' contact information is left, and Toby agrees that once he's sobered up, he will contact them within 3 days to discuss working as an informant. 3 days pass, and there's no contact from Toby, so a warrant is put out for his arrest. Jumping forward quite a bit to 2024, this case goes to trial, where he argues that 2 months prior to the incident, some men broke into his house and shot him. When he was released from the hospital, he goes into hiding because a car with tinted windows had been following him everywhere. On one of these occasions, the tinted window even rolled down, and he saw a gun barrel pointed at him. During his trial, he never explains why his life is in danger or why these people are following him, only that it is happening. The night before he entered the county jail, he says he had contacted his longtime girlfriend Rachelle, whom wasn't living with him at the time. He asks her for help and she agrees. 2 suitcases are packed with clothes, and Rachelle leaves them on the front porch of his cousin's place. Toby wasn't staying at that location, but she knew he would find them at some point based on her communications with him. Toby said when he got to his cousin's house to collect the suitcases, they had been on the porch overnight. He looks inside and notices the heat-sealed bag. Not sure where it came from, he doesn't feel right, and that's when he made the decision to go to the county jail to turn it in. He states that the whole purpose for going there was to give the bag of meth to law enforcement. Conflicting with the detective's story, Toby reports that he immediately told them that there was meth in his bag, and had even opened it up to show it to them. The strange, erratic behavior that they described as intoxication, Toby refutes. He says it was merely him being highly anxious and paranoid due to being followed, potentially even a PTSD episode. By the end of that interview, he recalls that indeed the detectives took the meth from him and dropped him off at a hotel. But according to Toby, there was no mention at all that he should contact them in the future, or any discussion relating to him becoming an informant for them. At the time when this county jail incident occurred, Toby was not arrested, and it was shortly after this where he had essentially moved into his girlfriend's home in Hamilton, and as I stated earlier, according to him, was helping her renovate. This leads into the morning of October 11th, 2022. City-employed gas workers were scheduled to arrive at the property around 8 a.m. to turn the gas on. 4 of them arrive on time, and as they enter, they're let into the house by Rachelle. They notice a few things. The house was in fairly good shape. Nothing out of place. Nothing out of order. No messes. It looked like a normal home. The second thing they noticed was a man sleeping on the couch in the living room, who is confirmed to be Toby Madden. The workers go down into the basement and find that the furnace on this property is not functional. They couldn't do anything further until it had been repaired. The workers leave around 8:30 a.m. and Rachelle lets them out. All of these men state that nothing seemed out of the ordinary in any way during this job. Rachelle's neighbor, Ann Myers, had pretty much grown up in the house next door and was around 70 years old at the time. She would spend most mornings sitting on the porch, watching the happenings of the neighborhood.
Can you tell everybody your name, please?
Ann Mayers.
How old are you right now?
I'm 75.
I see by what you're wearing that currently an inmate at the Butler County Jail?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Am I correct in saying that you're there because you recently entered a guilty plea to aggravated robbery with a 1-year gun specification?
Yes.
Okay. And was that for robbing the our group credit union on Route 4 in Fairfield Township on April 19th of this year?
Yes, it is.
2024, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna deviate for a few minutes now from the main trial, because to be upfront with you all, I was quite fascinated with this witness, and the idea that at 73 years old, she decided to rob a bank. I did some digging around, and found that she had no prior offences to this crime. In an interview with her sister, the sister says, quote, "I think she told me that she stole a candy bar once, but other than that, she's never stolen anything." End quote. Here's some footage associated with that incident.
Fairfield Township Police say Mayers walked into the R Group Credit Union off of Route 4 just before 2 o'clock Friday afternoon, showed the bank teller her gun, and demanded cash.
Now we're seeing the moment police actually found that 74-year-old bank robbery suspect right at her place.
Fairfield Township Police tracked down Ann Mayers at her home in Hamilton less than 2 hours after they say she robbed the credit union.
An afternoon of gardening came to an abrupt end Friday for 2 sisters.
Somebody's here?
Yes, ma'am.
When police showed up at Ann Mayers' home.
We're shoveling sand. I'm coming. Oh my God.
Can you go over there by those officers for me, please, ma'am?
Me or her? Ann?
I want you, please, ma'am, if you could.
She can't hear. I don't hear well. I can't hear over here.
Okay. Ma'am, do you have any weapons on you?
Lord, no.
Okay.
What did we do?
You want to get in my car?
Here in a second, ma'am, I'm going to ask you, but I want to let you know what's going on here first.
It's the car police say Mayers used to commit an armed robbery at R Group Credit Union less than 2 hours earlier.
We want to talk to you about an issue that happened today.
Okay.
At this point in time, though, I'm going to take you into custody. If you
Okay.
could, please.
Do I look like I could run?
No, I'm saying I know you're not, but I'm just holding on to you because I don't want you to fall, ma'am.
Body camera footage captured her admitting to the crime.
I did whatever you're here for.
Okay. What would that be?
Our group.
Okay.
My sister knows nothing about it.
Okay.
The prosecutor says Mayers does not have a criminal history, but adds this was a serious crime and has asked for a significant bond.
On the F3, it's going to be $25,000, so a total of $100,000.
We would ask if somehow she makes bond that she not return to our group bank.
I don't have any bond money, so I won't be posting bond.
She basically said she was hard on money, and that's why she did it. She woke up one morning, decided to rob the bank. She told us she's mentally fine. She just did it because she needed money.
Mayer's sister told police she suspects Mayers was recently scammed out of thousands of dollars by a person she met online claiming to be with U.S. Customs.
She'd allegedly been scammed out of thousands of dollars and owed money to family and friends. The judge considered those circumstances when deciding how long she'd spend behind bars.
And I also appreciate the mental stress that you were under that perhaps helped push you to make a decision that under normal circumstances that you otherwise would never have made. It does make this very unusual to have someone of your age with no prior history that appears in front of the court on such a serious charge.
I would like to apologize to our group if they're here today, and to my sister.
She's sentenced to 4 years in prison, and from the get-go has not fought the case at all. According to officers involved, quote, she was cooperative, she was polite, she confessed, and she took responsibility immediately, end quote. She has also written letters to apologize to those impacted by her crime, acknowledging that although tellers are aware robberies can happen, it must shake them when and if it does. Anyway, going back to the Toby Madden case now.
Is this 270 right here?
1270?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
1270?
Yes.
Okay. And this is 1260 right here?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt, there is a point.
Oh, yeah, I am short, so. And are you sitting on the porch here?
I'm the tolerable head one.
This one?
This one's that's my sister.
That's
I'm
your
the
sister.
other one.
Okay, you're that one.
Yes.
Right there. Okay. Of October 11th. Were you on your porch that
Yes.
morning? And
Almost every morning.
almost every morning you're on your porch? What's your routine? What do you do?
Well, Sissy's has raising her grandson.
I'm sorry, Sissy is...
Linda,
That's your sister?
my sister,
Okay.
is raising her grandson.
Mm-hmm.
And we have him, and he, at that time, went to Crawfordwood School, which was down on the next block.
Mm-hmm.
And he would leave at 8:15, and we would try to be out there drinking coffee and checking the phone, and so he could wave to us every 5 or 6 steps by, like a kid. And he went to school, and I stayed on the porch drinking coffee, went in, got another cup, and my sister...
Is this where you're talking about October 11th?
Yes.
Right, okay.
My sister went in because she didn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And I stayed there and probably at least a couple hours.
Okay. Drinking your coffee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looking at the phone.
Did you hear something out of
Yes,
the
I
ordinary?
did. I heard a scream.
You heard a scream, okay. What direction? Where?
This direction.
So you're pointing to your left, correct?
Yes.
Would that be towards 1270 then?
Yes. It was like a high-pitched scream. So I don't know if that would be a woman or a man. But it was a high-pitched scream.
Did you just hear the one scream or did you
One
hear
scream.
others? Did you hear any arguments?
Nope.
Did you hear anybody yelling at somebody
Nope.
else? Did you hear anything which would have sounded like furniture toppling over onto the floor?
No.
Do you have any hearing issues?
Yes, I wear hearing aids.
Okay. You have your hearing aids in now?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. Did you have your hearing aids in on that morning on October 11th?
See, I don't remember
Okay.
if I had them in or not. Usually I wear them as soon as I get up, but if I'm just sitting on the porch, sometimes I don't wear them. So I can't say yes and I can't say no.
What time do you think you heard that?
Well, before I went in,
Sometime after he left?
oh yeah.
Okay.
Hours, a couple hours.
Okay, all right. What'd you think when you heard that scream?
Well, I didn't know what it was. It was, can I give an example?
Sure.
It was like you open a door and something flew at you. It was just a, ah, like that.
Okay,
Maybe 5, 6 seconds.
okay.
But there's so many little kids in our neighborhood that I didn't know if it was a kid. I mean, you don't call the police because you hear a scream.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't. There'd
Okay.
be police in our neighborhood all the time.
Okay,
But that was what I heard.
okay.
I mean, it was from this direction.
You're pointing to your left?
Yeah, to my left.
Okay.
It
Towards-
wasn't from over here. It was from over here.
Towards Toby and
Yeah.
Rachelle's house?
Yeah.
Did you immediately go in the house?
No.
Or you sit out there for 15 more
No,
minutes?
because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know. I didn't know if it was a kid over there screaming. I didn't know. I know it come from this side, and it was a high-pitched scream. But I just went back to looking at the phone, and then I said, well, I'll go fix breakfast.
And then at some point, did you come back out?
Yeah, all hell had broke loose.
Okay, and what do you mean by that?
Well, there were tons of policemen
Mm-hmm.
and women, and Toby was running down the steps screaming, she's dead, she's dead. There's 3 of them. There was 3 of them.
Okay.
And I didn't know. I never ever saw anybody until that moment come out of that house.
Okay.
That's all I saw and heard was a scream.
You know how many police cars were out there? Did you
Oh
know?
my, a lot.
Was there,
a lot.
was there an ambulance out there at the time you delivered?
I don't remember.
So, you saw Toby go down the steps screaming. What did he say?
He said, she's dead, somebody killed her. There were 3 of them.
Where did he go to? He went down the steps. Where did he?
And he came over right in front of my property, right in front of where we were sitting. And there was a policeman that came on this side of him and a policeman that came on this side of him. Because I started to go down to find out what was wrong with him, because he was,
Was he hysterical?
yeah, you could say that.
Was there any calmness to him at all?
No.
When responding officers arrive, the first one enters the house, and she immediately notices a man hunched over a woman's body. He is performing CPR, and according to the officer, there was blood everywhere.
I could visually see that she was far gone, and there was no reason to do chest compressions at this time, so I grabbed him by his shirt and pulled him off of her. He was crying, yelling. I pulled him down the stairs to the bottom of the stairs to try to figure out his name and her name. He was pretty hysterical and cooperative, I would say. This is the victim, and you can see on her stomach she has stab wounds. Her shirt is cut up multiple times where she had been stabbed. She has stab wounds on her hands and arms, both arms, and there's blood surrounding her body.
Officers also note that there looked to have been quite an intense struggle within the residence. Furniture knocked over, cabinets on the floor, and a general state of chaos. A far cry from what city workers described when they left earlier that day. Toby is immediately brought in for questioning and is photographed prior to the interview commencing.
I took photos of his arms due to the fact that he had appeared to be scratch marks on an arm, and then I think he had an abrasion on his right arm. And then towards the end, there's also photos of his chest area, appear to be scratches across his chest and along his back. I continued to talk to Mr. Madden. He advised that he was really tired and that he had initially been in the adjacent room to the front room on that couch, and then at some point in time he got up and went into the room that Detective Huckey referred to as the front room. I verified that we were talking about the same room when I spoke with Mr. Madden. Said there was a room that didn't have furniture in it. It was just a flat floor. He said, but there's no bedding there, so he said he was just sleeping on the ground. So he advised that at some point in time, he did hear some screaming, but he wasn't sure if it was just in his dream or whether that was in fact the case. He said that's the room he was in when he woke up, walked out, and then found Miss Brewsaugh on the ground. I also followed up on Mr. Madden had told me in one of the interviews while we were talking that there were people following him around Kroger the night before, that he'd been at Kroger, and that they followed him up and down aisles, and he thought they were trying to abduct him.
To follow up on Toby's story, surveillance footage from Kroger is reviewed, and it does depict him at this location. Although at no point does it appear like he's being followed by anyone, nor does he exhibit any signs of paranoia, looking around, trying to evade other people, and so forth. What is interesting to detectives about this footage is the clothing he was wearing. The very clothes seen on this footage were located in the basement of Rachelle's house. The basement is dark, and there's no available lighting, so it was difficult to see down there, but upon lighting it up, a few items of interest are uncovered. A wooden board on the floor that has a footprint on it. This print is identified to have been made from the same style of shoe that Toby was seen wearing on the footage. A shoe, mind you, that could not be located anywhere in the house. They also find a few items of clothing down there, which appeared to have been hidden. Rachelle's blood was present on all of them. An autopsy is performed on Rachelle's body, and the details of her final moments are so troubling that a member of the courtroom outbursts as a photo of Rachelle is displayed.
And tell us what we're looking at in State's Exhibit 180, please.
Okay.
Okay. If anyone cannot compose themselves in the courtroom, then they're going to need to leave the courtroom.
It was fairly obvious because of the number of stab wounds present on her head, her chest, her abdomen, her arms, one on her leg, on her back, that she had sustained multiple stab wounds. So again, this is one of these types of cases where just during the initial external examination, it was fairly obvious to me as far as what the cause of death was going to be.
55 stab wounds were inflicted. It's identified that the same blade was used to cause all of the injuries, and likely it was a smaller knife that they were looking for. Within the property, located inside of Rachelle's personal bag, a Swiss Army knife is found. When it's picked up, detectives note that it was quite wet, which was strange, seeing as everything else in the bag was dry. It's sent away for testing, and comes back positive for Rachelle's DNA, located in a deep well on the knife that would have been hard to clean. Furthermore, cuts in Rachelle's clothing match the blade almost perfectly. Whoever killed her most definitely used this knife. The bathroom sink of the residence is looked into a little more closely, and although to the naked eye it seems quite clean, when exposed to Blue Star technology, a different story is told. Rachelle's blood was all over the sink and the floor beneath it. Toby Madden is charged with the murder of Rachelle, and the trial date is scheduled for 2024. The lead up to his trial is full of delays and issues. Most notable, he goes through 5 defense attorneys before ultimately requesting to represent himself, potentially realizing how difficult that task would be, and due to the fact that when his last attorney was removed, he had only 6 more days to prepare for trial, with the judge not willing to delay it again. Toby settles on his 6th public defender. He maintains his innocence, saying that there were 3 people who were in his house that morning, the gas workers, and they were likely suspects. On top of that, he continues to express that people are out to hurt him, and that these people probably attacked Rachelle as a means to get to him. As the trial starts, and opening statements are almost ready to begin, there's quite a strange outburst from Toby.
Then, do you have any comment on that, Mr. Wilder?
Yeah, we would object to that.
Listen, I don't want to object to anything. I want to This is my family that I love. And, listen, yeah, I'm responsible for what happened to her. I didn't mean it. We got into it. And I'm so sorry. Nothing could make an attorney more nervous than when a client starts to talk, right? This is what Mr. Madden said. This is the state has put this into evidence. I'm responsible for what happened to her. I didn't mean to do it. I'm so sorry. I love you. I don't want you to hate me. Toby was hysterical. He's distraught. He's crying. He can't keep it together.
Throughout the course of the trial, disruptions like this were frequent. Here's a few highlights now of some that stood out to me.
Haven't seen look that up. What do you say? Haven't seen my family and now her family. I'm just look that up. I feel
We must have decorum in this courtroom and proceed without disruption. But I want to give you the opportunity to be here, but I can't let you disrupt the proceedings. So I'm going to give you one final caution.
The first room you enter is the living room. That's where she was. And to the left was like a dining room and kitchen area. There's a small hallway with bedrooms off to the side and a bathroom off to the side.
What were you concerned? Why did you want to clear the house to make sure that the EMS was safe?
Well, at this time, I did not know if there was anyone else left in the house that possibly could have done this to her.
Okay. It's your way of making sure that EMS is safe?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us what it is as you're going through the house and some of the observations you made.
When I entered first, the paramedics and firefighters had asked me to unplug a heater that was in the living room there. So I unplugged that with gloves on, and then I started making announcements. Hamilton Police, if you're here, announce yourself repeatedly, and then I started clearing room by room to make sure that there was no one else in the house. Belongings everywhere. The first room you enter is the living room. That's where she was. And to the left was like a dining room and kitchen area. There's a small hallway with bedrooms off to the side and a bathroom off to the side. Then as you go straight down the hallway, it takes you to the back door, which was locked. And then there's stairs that go down into the basement. And I searched down there as well.
Your Honor, I was looking at, I just wanted to bring up one item. If you pull up,
Are we being recorded?
We are on the record.
okay, I want to be on the record. Can you pull up state exhibit number 66, please? Please? Just pull it up on
Why
here.
don't we go off the record, and if there's something that needs to be on the record?
I don't want this stuff. Come on, I'm not allowed to have it on record. It's a stick that's on there. I want it to be seen.
Mr. Madden, this isn't a time for you to have a conversation with the gallery.
No, it's not.
Okay. You need to remain silent while we conduct our business. You need to remain quiet while we conduct our business at the bench.
My client's just indicated that it says we're on the record. He said he hasn't had a shower yet. So.
4 days. 4 days.
I know that's not the judge's responsibility, but I know that. Mentioning it, I know that can be.
I haven't had a shower in 4 days. I haven't been able to shave. They won't give me the commissary that I purchased. I'm in a cell 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day of lockdown. But I'd like to have a shower.
I don't have any control over the jail's policies.
Is there anyone that can?
You've heard the.
I mean, they wrote a ticket on me because I asked them for a shower.
Thank you.
They moved around from place to place.
Oh. I didn't want him as an attorney. You know that I didn't want him as an attorney. And I told you all that. I don't want him as an attorney. And for that reason, he said, get it. I've asked him multiple times to subpoena some information that would show how this all started. And he's refused to, over
or a period of months. He's told me to my face. Mayor, the one who robbed the bank, there was on record, that she was saying that me and Rachelle both were great neighbors, and I don't look like somebody that would be a murderer. And, she was happy to have us, and she let me use the phone all these different times to call while we still were living there. But he thought that wasn't sufficient enough evidence for the jury to hear, and I thought it was. He said, but if you try to bring that forth, I'm going to make sure that she shuts it down. Why would he have you shut that down? I don't understand, but listen, there's plenty of things that I thought that needed to come out. For example, when I asked him to ask the detective, this gentleman right here, when he ran down the hallway after I was beat up on March the 27th and taken down 2 hallways, dragged out of my shoes, down to the bottom of the basement inside a cell. You can hear me screaming out. So there's so many things that I thought that I just wanted to put on the record. And that's all I had to say right now.
Is there anything else, Mr. Wilder?
Judge, I'm not going to respond to the allegations, because if I were to do that, I would be breaking attorney-client privilege, and I'm not going to do that at this point. I'm prepared to argue his case as best I can based on the limited discussion we've had about the case. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, one other thing. You know that on March 27th, about near 9 a.m. 2024, I was brought in here in the afternoon, probably sometime. Most of the time I had hearings that were in the afternoon, 3:15, 1:45. Times that my family didn't even know because times weren't being logged on the computer when I was having court. So nobody could be here. I was brought up with no other inmates. I was always and woken up out of my sleep saying, hey, you got a court date today. Having hearings without me there. Because if at any time that there's been a proceeding or a hearing here, if you haven't heard my voice, then you can sure be 100% know for a fact that I wasn't there. And I had the shoes beaten off of me all the way down the hallway, down 2 hallways, down to the elevator, and this man right here gets up for some reason and comes down.
I'm going to stop you. Mr. Madden.
And ask me what he said to me.
We've talked about some of this before. Okay. I've got your jury is waiting, and I don't want to keep them waiting. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Pretty much everything I've presented from the investigation is used against Toby in court. The state's argument is that he, for reasons no one will ever know but him, attacked and stabbed his girlfriend 55 times using the pocket knife. He then proceeded to clean it and hide it in her bag. He changed his bloody clothing, hiding them downstairs where he hoped law enforcement wouldn't look. And then he proceeded to perform CPR on a person whom he knew had no chance of revival. Following his arrest, he's blamed gas workers and unknown hitmen, but ultimately, the most plausible suspect is he. The defense do try their best to present a counter-argument, so I'll go through a few excerpts of their cross-examinations. Before I dive into that though, I do have a clip or two to show you, for no other reason than I found them enjoyable to watch. The first being the older neighbor describing Rachelle's large, old dog.
The dog was always there. She had a dog, he had a dog, a big old sloppy thing. Old, 2 steps, go to sleep.
The other part of her testimony, which I found to be amusing, was her description of prior tenants within her neighbor's house and how they would often play loud music.
You can hear that boom, boom, boom. Young kids, boom, boom, boom.
Taking things more seriously now, I'll drop you into her cross-examination, where the defense attorney is working towards this idea that the area was riddled with high drug activity and had a lot of shady characters throughout it.
Because you had not had very good experience with the people who had
No, it was a rental house.
Right, and there have been drug people in and out of that house. Is
Been
that
all
fair?
kinds of people in and out of that house.
Was there a lot of drug activity near the residence you had on the parish?
Well, there were some, yes.
And when I asked about drug activity, you talking about People appearing on the influence of drugs, people selling drugs? What kind of drug stuff did you
I
see?
never saw anyone sell drugs.
So what kind of drug activity did you
I've seen people laying on the ground with syringes in their hand, but I've never seen actual buying and selling. I don't think I did. Of course, I don't know. I don't know anything about drugs. We never had drugs when I was growing up.
Were you pleased to see that Rachelle and Toby had moved in next door?
I was pleased to see Rachelle
Okay.
because she was very nice and sociable.
Were you not glad to see Toby move in?
Toby was strange.
What do you mean by that?
I don't really know, but he was always over at the house wanting something.
Whose house?
My house.
Over your house?
Yes.
What do we mean, want something?
He wanted to use the Wi-Fi, he wanted to use the telephone, he wanted to, and no.
Okay.
Now, when I say this, he was like on something crazy. He wasn't normal.
Okay. Did he make you nervous?
Yeah, very.
Okay. Would you say you were scared of him?
Mm-hmm.
Is that it? I'm sorry, is that it?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
There was another witness who was essentially only asked one question from direct examination. Despite this, it turned into a fairly hefty cross. Unfortunately, this witness did not want their face shown, so we'll be working with audio only for this one.
And ma'am, I want to direct your attention back to around Christmas time of 2021. Did you have contact with Toby Madden around that time?
Yes.
Did you hear him say anything about Rachelle Brewsaugh?
Yes.
What did he say about Rachelle Brewsaugh?
Objection.
Overruled.
You can answer, ma'am.
He said that he would cut her head off, put it in her mom's lap, so the whole family would have to suffer.
Thank you, Judge.
Cross-examination?
Ms. Cook, that was pretty quick. Are you Toby's cousin?
Yes.
This statement that you just say you heard, you said he was going to cut off her head and put it in his mother's lap?
Not his mother's, her mother's. That's before she passed away.
Okay. Who was around when he said that?
My daughter, my husband.
Who's your
He said it over and over again. It wasn't just one time. It was over and over again.
When you say over and over again, you talking about just that day?
No, just different days.
Okay. So I'm assuming you called police, right?
When he said that?
Yeah.
No, I did not.
Where were you at when this was said?
At my house.
What were you guys doing?
Toby would sell clothes and shoes, and
He was selling clothes and shoes inside your house?
he would bring them in his truck, and I would buy shoes from him or clothes or whatever.
Okay, so when I asked you what you were doing that day when he said this, you're buying clothes and shoes from him?
Yeah, it's depending on what day it was.
What were you doing that day that he made this statement?
I don't know. We were maybe sitting on the couch. I don't know exactly. We were talking, sitting there.
You remember what day it was?
No.
Day of the week?
No, because he said it quite frequent. It was either he was going to stab her to death or cut her head off and put it in her mom's lap.
Were you drinking that day?
I don't drink or do drugs.
Your husband does though, right?
Yes.
Was he drinking or using drugs that day?
I don't know.
Well, how long have you been married to him?
22 years.
You can't tell us whether or not your husband's drunk after 22 years of being with him or on drugs?
He possibly was on drugs that day.
Did you ever see at your house Rachelle hit Toby with a stick?
What, it was a thing that you put up underneath the doorknob to keep people from coming in. He had come to the house, Rachelle was there, and I could tell by his knock that it was him. I was like, that's Toby, Rachelle. And so she got up and answered the door, and he had the stick, and he hit her with it.
Oh, he hit her?
Yep.
Did she ever hit him with it?
She took it back she got it from him and hit him with it.
If Steve put up Exhibit 66, please.
The issue about Rachelle's DNA being found in a well within the knife. The defense attorney asked a few questions, clarifying how else someone's DNA could get onto a knife, other than them being injured with it.
You yourself, have you ever used a knife to clean your fingernail beds out?
Not a knife, no.
I understand, but not everybody does things the same way. Would you agree with me on that?
That's true, yes.
Could you, I know you're not going to do that, but could you use the end of a knife such as what you looked at just to kind of clean your nail beds?
You could.
Right?
That pretty much leads us into closing arguments.
If he's continually, again, if you believe Miss Cook, that he walks around saying, I'm going to cut her head off, put it in mom's lap, wouldn't something have happened before 28 years? I mean, why that day? Because something happened in those few hours after those gas workers left. Something quick happened. There had to be an argument, something, because all that furniture's on the ground. You have to stay focused on the mental element of this. She's dead. It's horrific. It should not have happened, but it did. The element you need to focus on is the mental part of this, because they want to prove to you, and they have to prove to you, that this is what he wanted. And that's simply not the case. Thank you.
She got butchered in the home that she was renovating. And I ask that you hold this defendant responsible for killing her. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that state exhibit.
Jurors, I'm going to ask you to read the jury.
State exhibit 66 is a stick in there. And I also, if you look at the video of them questioning me down at the police station, if you look at it, they asked me, how did the blood get in the sink? I told them that there was blood on my face after I was doing CPR, and I told them that I went to the sink.
At this time.
Look at state number exhibit number 66. Ask for it back there and see. There's a stick right there. They won't. There's plenty of things they won't bring to you. Ask for it. Right?
You can get that. Okay, now we're right. Okay, so
I know you're not commenting.
the court is not going to tolerate. Let me go back on.
You're not, listen,
All right,
what
we're
you're
going
not
to
going
move
to
to
do
the
is I'm not
defendant to
going to
the upstairs
sit here
remote location
and
and
allow
take
you to
recess.
do it.
Thank you.
You want to come run the down the hall this time? You got something to say?
Did you have the opportunity to go to the remote location where Mr. Madden is viewing these proceedings?
Yes, I did.
And at any point while you were present with Mr. Madden, did he make any statements that caused you concern about his return to this courtroom?
Yes, he advised his attorney that if he were not wearing restraints, or I'm sorry, that his attorney was lucky that he was currently wearing restraints, implying that he would inflict physical harm if he were not.
With less than a few hours of deliberation, the jury reaches their verdict.
We, the jury, being duly impaneled, find the defendant, Toby Madden, guilty of murder as charged in the indictment. The verdict form is signed in ink by all 12 jurors. Verdict form 2. We, the jury, being duly impaneled, find the defendant, Toby Madden, guilty of murder as charged in the indictment. The verdict form is signed in ink by all 12 jurors. Verdict form 3. We, the jury, being duly impaneled, find the defendant, Toby Madden, guilty of felonious assault as charged in the indictment. The verdict form is signed in ink by all 12 jurors. And finally, verdict form 4, we, the jury, being duly impaneled, find the defendant, Toby Madden, guilty of felonious assault as charged in the indictment, and the verdict form is signed in ink by all 12 jurors.
Toby Madden is sentenced to 25 years in prison before being eligible for parole. This sentence will run consecutively to a 11 to 16 year sentence for the drug possession case brought up earlier in the video. During his sentencing hearing, Toby would get the opportunity to speak about his thoughts and feelings regarding the case.
Video feed, and Mr. Madden, if there's anything that you'd like to say on your own behalf, you're welcome to say it at this time.
Well, I would like to say something, Your Honor. I found it. I'm truly sorry to my family that I'm responsible, that I'm committing this offense. And I told him how, and I told him what happened. I went into detail, and I told him what happened. And for some reason, he chose to allow the state to perform an act of there and state that I tried to hide everything that I done, and as if I didn't do it. I never mentioned that one time that I didn't do it. I told these officers, these deputies, that I done it, and he knows that too. And for whatever reason, the state decided he decided not to put up the exhibit. But it's if there's anyone out there that wants to get to the bottom of it, and you're able to come and really see, you see that that there's discrepancies here that aren't matching up, and there's so many that I could put you on the trail to, and the kibbles and bits are laying right on the floor. But when you're poor, this man I never saw for almost 4 months.
All right, Mr. Madden, I'm going to interrupt you. Okay, let's go ahead and mute it.
2 days before it was time to go to trial discussion, now he says, hey, listen, I'm going to be able to prove through logs that I showed up.
Okay.
You don't have to mute it. You don't have to mute it. I'll stop going into detail, but I'll tell you this.
I'm interested in hearing anything that you want to tell me as to why I should give you, how I should sentence you.
Well, I just want you to know this. To my family, all the years. If it didn't please you to know that somebody is suffering, I don't presume to know the pain that you're going through. I don't presume to know the pain that you're going through. But and I don't understand it. But I can tell you, you don't know the pain that I'm going through, knowing that I'm the one that caused this tragedy. And if there's any solace, there's any silver lining in knowing that when I go to bed, that's on my mind. When I wake up in the morning, that's on my mind. I think about SeaWorld in San Diego. I think about walking on the beach in Florida, the chalet in Gatlinburg in February. I think about all the years, all the meals that we've had together, the Christmases, the Thanksgivings, the summers. These feelings, these emotions are
All right. It appears the audio has been turned off at this time. Any objections to that, Mr. Wilder?
To the audio being
Yes,
turned
sir.
off? No objection to that.
Okay, so at this time, if there are any victims' representatives that wish to address the court will hear those statements.
I would just like to speak about my mom. That's good. Sure. Sorry, I'm a little shaky.
Take your time.
You're fine.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Michaela Madden. I'm Rachelle Brewsaugh's daughter and our only child. I wanted to make this statement because I want you to know more about my mother, Rachelle Brewsaugh. She meant so much to our family and friends. Her death has created a huge hole in our lives from which we will never recover. Rachelle, my mother, was the youngest of 4 children. She was the baby of the family. But she wasn't just a sister and a daughter. She was also an aunt, a neighbor, a friend, a member of the community, and perhaps her most important role, a mother and grandmother. Sorry. As an only child, I had the benefits of all her love and attention. She always sought to have everything I needed. She taught me to be respectful and to be well-mannered, to work hard and help others. She dedicated her life to serve. She was a nurse, and I'm following in her footsteps and hoping to become a nurse. I mentioned that my mom was also a grandmother. I'll never forget how thrilled she was to have a granddaughter. My mom relished on every moment that she had with my daughter, Layla. After I had Layla, I noticed a change in her. My mom wanted to leave her life with Toby Madden in the past. She was focused on and excited for a better life filled with love for me and her granddaughter Layla. This has been unimaginable for me and my family. But how can I tell you who my mom was? It's impossible to express in words who my mom was and the impact this had on our family. I will miss the big things. She loved animals, especially dogs, butterflies, and dolphins. She went out of her way to help everyone. She had no enemies. She was hilarious and smart. She had an infectious laugh. And she and I were so very close. We talked about everything. She's my best friend. The one thing that got in the way and we disagreed with was Toby Madden. He was the man that my mother set out to change. He was the man who came in and out of our lives because all he did was take. All he did was take. He was never a loving partner for her, and he was not a good dad. I mentioned that my mom always focused on others. She took care of him through thick and thin. But Toby's only interest was to put us down. All of her accomplishments. But I have made a better impact on my life than he ever will. People ask me if I'm better or if time has healed me. I will never get over losing my mother. Her life should have never ended so tragically. My mom was a healthy 50-year-old woman. She was full of life. She was ready to move on to the next chapter in her life from Toby. A chapter full of things to do, places to go, and happiness. My life will go on. I will raise my daughter, and Toby Madden will fade into the past for me and my family. There are going to be days that Toby will wonder about us, but he will never know what is going on in our lives, and he will never get the chance to see his granddaughter grow old. Even though Toby Madden ended my sweet mother's life, she will always be with me. He's not going to end our lives, but his selfish, disgusting act of taking my mother's life will end his life as well. I know she's in heaven with God and her mother and father and sister and brother who have also passed. But I would give anything to talk to her one more time, to see her be silly and laugh with my daughter, Layla. But I know I will never, because Toby took that away from us. And I just want to say thank you to the court, thank you to the judge, thank you to the police officers, detectives, my family and friends, for everything that you've done.
Very sorry for your loss, ma'am.
Thank you. Over the course of 26 years, our family has been victims of so much violence because of his erratic, violent behavior. There are too many to even mention and not enough time to talk about. We have all been emotionally drained, having to wait 2 selfish years due to the delay tactics. The continual delays feel like it was his last selfish act to resort to torment our family further. Waking up every day to realize that your aunt is gone forever, that's not only like a second mother, but a best friend, is torture in itself.